I would put on these giant headphones that were 3 sizes too big for my head, and I would open up my tape deck, and I'd put in tapes by Amy Grant, Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, Boyz II Men, Desiree, Sarah McLachlan, and I would sing for hours. I would turn up the volume so loud that I couldn't even hear the sound of my own voice because I was that insecure. And if anybody stepped into the room, I immediately turned it off and stopped singing because I was so self-conscious about being heard. I was more comfortable hiding than being seen. And it didn't make sense to me though, because when I was alone, it was the time I felt most free. But I wouldn't let anybody access that part of who I was. I wouldn't even join the choir at the all-girls high school that I went to, because you had to audition to get in. And the idea of having to sing solo in front of one other person terrified me so much that I sat in the auditorium for all 4 years, listening and watching them sing up there, doing the thing that I love more than anything, because I was too afraid to try. I was too afraid to unmute myself, to put myself out there. Because what if I wasn't good enough? Or what if I messed up? What will people think of me? An invitation emerged my sophomore year of college. I was taking Spanish. I went to a school, liberal arts school, you had to take a language. And my professor pulled me aside after class one day. He said, "Rachel, you have a knack for language. Have you ever thought about studying abroad?" And I said, "Let me tell you something. I have lived in the same house my whole life, in Baltimore, Maryland. I have never been further west than West Virginia, which for context is not very far. And the idea of going and living across the ocean in another country whose language I barely speak does not sound very appealing to me." So I brushed them off. Then every adult I talked to about that invitation, they said, "Oh my gosh, you have to go. You get to live in Europe for 4 months. Why would you not do that?" My own mother was in her mid-50s. And she said, "I had an opportunity to go to France when I was your age, and I didn't take it, and I still regret it." And so I said yes. I made the decision to go study abroad in southern Spain, and the trip changed my life. It fundamentally changed who I was inside. I was immersed in this culture of vibrant and alive and expressive and unmuted people, and I could not help but be affected by it. I couldn't help it. And I came back and I felt bolder and braver. And when I returned from that trip, the gospel choir at my school was doing auditions for the spring concert. Now you might ask, wait a second, help me connect the dots. You're in the gospel choir? Why did you find the courage to do that? Don't worry, there are no tryouts, so everyone gets in. If you're with 80 people, it really doesn't matter if you can't sing all that well because your voice will be lost in all the noise. And so I waited until everyone left the chapel. And I went up to the director, Eric, and I pulled him aside and I said, I think I want to try out for a solo. And he went and he sat down at the piano and he sent me to the microphone stand, and I looked out over these dozens of rows of pews, and I closed my eyes. This morning when I rose, yeah, I didn't have no doubt. This morning when I rose, yeah, I didn't have no doubt. This morning when I rose, yeah, I didn't have no doubt. This morning when I rose, yeah, I didn't have no doubt. I got the solo. And my 9-year-old Mariah Carey dream came true. 18 years after that audition, On January 26th, 2023, I released my very first original song on Spotify. This song is called Somebody, and it's about reminding us that we are somebody who matters and that we're enough without having to earn it or prove it or achieve it. Because that's the message that all of us need to hear, right? That you are somebody, you matter, and you are enough. And the icing on the cake was 2 months after that song released, I went back into that high school auditorium that I was too afraid to even audition in, and I sang my song on stage in front of 800 students. To show them the power of being unmuted. To show them the power of leaning into their strengths, of activating their assets, of doing the thing that they were born to do. Doing the thing that they were born to do. One of the biggest regrets we have in our lives are boldness regrets. If only I'd taken the chance. If only I'd gone for it. If only I'd put myself out there. If only I'd accepted the invitation. If you didn't have no doubt, what invitations would you accept? What opportunities would you say yes to? What kind of impact and influence would you be able to have at work and in the world? Nobody else ever has or ever will have the unique combination of skills and talents and strengths and abilities and experiences and perspectives that you have. No one ever. So give us what you've got. Be willing to unmute yourself. Accept the invitation. Thank you.
Rachel Druckenmiller, everybody!
Thank you so much.
Up next to discuss the live